Welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here because today we are embarking on a truly fascinating journey. We're going to unpack Scroll 67 of one of the most monumental texts in all of Mahayana Buddhism, the Mahaprajna Paramita Sastra. Now, this ancient text was translated by Kumar Jiva and is attributed to Nagarjuna, and it deals with the absolute, ultimate nature of reality. Honestly, it's a text that completely shatters our everyday way of thinking, so get ready to stretch your mind. Okay, let's dive into this. Our roadmap today will take us from abstract philosophy to a dramatic historical prophecy. We'll cover the truth of Prajnaparamita, the inconceivable realm, who can understand, overcoming demonic obstacles, protection of Buddhas, and finally, the prophecy of the North. Section 1. The truth of Prajnaparamita, exploring the ultimate wisdom. You see, to really wrap our heads around this, we first have to recognize a fundamental human problem. We're constantly categorizing reality, right? We put things into buckets of past or future, gaining or losing, good or bad, and this habit is actually the root of our suffering. So what's the fix? It's prajnaparamita, or the perfection of wisdom. True wisdom here isn't about accumulating more facts. It's about stopping the mind's relentless habit of making distinctions. It's about completely letting go of all those rigid labels. And this brilliantly illustrates a massive gap in perspective. On one side, we have our ordinary, everyday mind. It's constantly chopping reality into little pieces, judging what we like and what we don't like. But on the other side, the bodhisattva mind sees the unified, empty nature of all things. The text uses this gorgeous metaphor. Just as hundreds of different rivers flow into the vast ocean and merge into one single taste, the bodhisattva sees all phenomena merging into one perfectly unified reality. The source material captures this so perfectly with a quote directly from the Buddha. He states that all dharmas, which basically means all phenomena or things in the world, are empty, deceptive, and unsolid. It's profound, right? Because things have no permanent solid core, they can flawlessly flow together, exactly like that ocean. Nothing is rigid. Literally, everything is fluid and deeply interconnected. Section 2. The inconceivable realm. Embracing the ultimate paradox. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, wow, this is completely mind-bending, well, you definitely aren't alone. In the text, a disciple named Subhuti reacts the exact same way. He basically calls these concepts completely inconceivable. But the Buddha hits back with this profound paradox. He says, to truly grasp the perfection of wisdom, you cannot even cling to the idea that it's inconceivable. If you attach a label to it, even the label inconceivable, you've totally failed to let go. You have to drop the concept of concepts entirely. And that brings us to a concept that gets so often misunderstood, sunyata, or emptiness. Emptiness is not some dark, depressing, nihilistic void, not at all. It simply means that all phenomena lack an independent, permanent existence. Realizing this emptiness is actually incredibly freeing. It creates a pure, unattached reality where you're no longer boxed in by rigid definitions. Section 3. Who can understand? The path of the dedicated practitioner. So it's a pretty fair question to ask. If this ultimate wisdom is so intensely paradoxical and requires letting go of absolutely everything, who on earth is actually capable of understanding it? Well, according to the text, it's really not for the faint of heart. A practitioner needs a long history of practicing the 6 paramitas. They need to have planted deep good roots, served countless Buddhas, and followed good spiritual friends. We're talking about immense, sustained spiritual conditioning over a vast amount of time. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the metaphor the text uses to explain why most people completely reject this wisdom. It compares the perfection of wisdom to a flawless, wish-fulfilling jewel, but to an ignorant person, someone with a sort of spiritual eye disease, that precious jewel just looks like dirty gravel. It shows how our own mental flaws make us reject the exact thing that would give us ultimate freedom. Section 4. Overcoming demonic obstacles. The battle for truth. Okay, let's shift gears and add a little dramatic tension. Because once you start pursuing a truth this absolute, you instantly attract massive resistance. The pursuit of ultimate truth triggers immediate pushback from Mara, the demonic forces of the desire realm. And these obstacles are brutal. We're talking physical and psychological attacks like extreme fatigue, interpersonal discord, even severe natural disasters. But the absolute most insidious ones, those are ideological. Demons will literally manifest as false teachers,
They'll misrepresent emptiness by claiming it just means nothingness, trying to convince practitioners that there's no point in virtuous actions at all.
Because these worldly and supernatural obstacles are basically inevitable, the Buddha offers some surprisingly practical, almost urgent advice. He says when you are copying this profound prajnaparamita, you should write it quickly. Don't dawdle. You literally have to outpace the demonic pushback to get the scripture down before distractions or disasters can strike. Section 5. Protection of Buddhas. The Divine Shield. With all of these intense, terrifying obstacles, you might be wondering how anyone actually survives this path. In the text, Sariputra asks that exact same question, and the answer is super reassuring. Anyone actively studying this text gets absolute cosmic backup from an infinite, uncountable number of Buddhas across all 10 directions. This includes famous figures like Amitabha and Aksobhya. Their combined protective power infinitely outweighs whatever Mara can throw at you. So the crucial point is how they actually protect them. The text specifically points out that the Buddhas watch over these practitioners using the Buddha eye. Now, unlike normal human vision or even the divine heavenly eye, the Buddha eye sees perfectly beyond all worldly illusions directly into true reality. By keeping practitioners locked in the sight of the Buddha eye, the Buddhas offer this impenetrable divine shield that demons simply cannot break through. Section 6. Prophecy of the North. The Legacy of the Text. Now we get to, frankly, one of the most fascinating historical phases of the text, the Buddha's prophecy about what will happen long after he enters nirvana. He lays out this clear timeline. The teachings begin in the east, they migrate to the south, transition to the west, and finally, in the late degenerate era, the teachings will ultimately make their way to the north. But why the north? Well, the text gives us a really remarkable geographic explanation. It says the extreme cold and the harsh, simple diet of the north actually calm the three poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance. Because the physical environment itself suppresses these human defilements, the people there, even during a really dark, degenerate era filled with conflict, become incredibly receptive to this profound wisdom. It's amazing. Faith thrives exactly where you'd least expect it to. Let's move to and see how this builds into the final legacy. In this really harsh future, ordinary people will hear the Prajnaparamita. And despite the sheer difficulty of the times, they'll hear it completely without fear. They will awaken the ultimate Bodhi mind, make a vow to endure the hardships of their era, and dedicate themselves to teaching countless others. It forms this beautiful, unbreakable chain of wisdom through time. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. The Mahaprajnaparamita Sastra is basically asking us to view reality without borders, without rigid judgments, and without our endless labels. So I want to leave you with this question to reflect on, based on everything we've just uncovered. If true, ultimate wisdom requires letting go of every single label and distinction you hold on to, what is the very first thing you need to unlearn? Thank you so much for exploring with me today.